Open the Marshfield Conservation Commission meeting for Wednesday, December 4th, 2024. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We have the minutes to approve from November 6th. I know there was one edit. Did anyone else have anything or want to bring up anything now? In that case, I move to approve the minutes as edited. A second, please.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Just for the record, SE 423117, 11 Ice House Lane, SE 423110, and SE 4231, do we even have a number on Ridge Road, Mike, or?
Ridge Road, the DP number has not been issued yet.
Okay. The application for 248 Ridge Road are all being continued and won't be heard tonight, so if anyone is waiting for those, check back before our next meeting. Our first hearing is 280 Canal Street. I will read the legal ad. In compliance with the regulations of Marshfield, where is it? In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, December 4th, to consider the notice of intent for 280 Canal Street. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Platt.
Okay, so we talked about this one at the last meeting. However, we did not have the DEP number, and we now do. So at this point, would we just vote? We're just going to vote on the existing. So, okay, so do you want to just list the conditions again one more time?
Yes, and I would also like to point out that they did provide a amended site plan,
Okay.
Which does note the conservation posts in detail on the site plan.
Okay, great.
I would suggest the following conditions. General conditions 1 through 18 are standard special conditions. Prior to construction, condition 5 and 2, ensure erosion controls in place and have a pre-construction meeting. During construction, condition 11, maintain best management practices. After construction, condition 1, to file for a certificate of compliance and provide an as-built site plan. Erosion control, ensure that erosion control is in place throughout the duration of work, and also the piece about the 4 conservation markers.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I vote to close the hearing and issue the order of conditions to include the conditions listed by Mike. Can I have, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Can I have a second? Oh, I did that
Oh,
wrong.
second.
Second. Sorry, guys.
I'm still in favor, though.
It's a good way to start it off.
And I read the legal ad, but actually I have to because it's already open.
It's already,
Wondering
yeah.
about that, but, you know,
Okay.
Oh, we got through it.
Autopilot.
it's the snow.
Okay, next up is 1187 Ferry Street. This is a new hearing. In compliance with General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, December 4th, 2024, to consider the request for an amended order of conditions for 1187 Ferry Street, and the hearing officer is Vice Chair O'Donnell.
Thank you. Mike, all the administrative things in order?
All administrative requirements have been met.
Okay, is Mr. Antonek on Zoom?
Yes, he is.
All right, put your
Oh, I'm sorry.
papers get in here when they're down here.
Yeah, I guess I was blocking the mic. Mr. Antonek, you on?
Yes, how is everybody?
Good. You hearing us okay?
Yeah, it was a little choppy, but it seems to be better now.
Yeah, I think we corrected that. We hear you well also.
Okay, great. Would you guys like me to kick it off here?
Yes, please.
Okay, Mike, would it be easier if I shared my screen?
Yep, I can, just let me grant you permission here quickly.
You guys are speeding along, I was almost late.
So unfortunately, it looks like they took away the ability to have you present or share your screen via Zoom.
Okay,
Would you like
no
me to
worries.
show anything in particular? I have the as-built site plan.
I would go back a little further. Is this the packet I sent in?
Yes, I can pull the full packet up too.
Well, you know what? I can work on this. Don't kill yourself. So, as you guys are aware, we did some pretty extensive work on this. Thank you, everybody, for helping me out on the first round. So we're done with the project. We sold it, which is great. Took a little longer than expected, but it is sold. And so there were a couple things that differed in reality when we put the site together. The first was, you'll notice on the, I guess what I'll call the north end, so the right property line, we did add some gravel along that wall, specifically because when we were installing, there was a pretty large rainstorm and the water was coming off the road and kind of pooling. And so by adding that stone, it kind of redirected it and it flowed through the stone nicely and just got through the property without pooling up on the grass. So that was a natural way to kind of get the rainwater to kind of like flow through the property, because as you know, we're the lowest spot and it grades down the way that we had discussed back in the day. Along with that, the leaders on each corner of the property are each the top right, the top left, and the bottom left corners of the building. I just ran a simple ADS pipe over to the stone on either side to get the roof water over into the stone as well. And that wasn't discussed at the beginning, but again, trying to avoid pooling of water. The only other thing, and Mike, if you could show the approved plan, please. You'll notice here where the coil log is. So after installation, I realized that there was an error on this print. So that coil log I had requested to my engineer to put along the back property line where the silt sock was, and he never showed the silt sock here, so I just assumed that was the back property line. When in actuality, now Mike, if you go back up, the silt sock from the beginning was always along this far edge of the property, and he did indicate it here on the as-built, the erosion control. So I built it the way that I described to him, but then afterward realized that he had placed it in the wrong spot on the plan. But irregardless, the grading is as agreed upon. It's just the location of that coil log, and the planting is a little bit further back, about 4 or 5 feet. Maybe in the corner it's close to 9 feet, but it really doesn't change too much. It's still grass, and actually the height of the top of the coil log is lower than the proposed before. So it really doesn't affect anything at all, and we haven't seen any adverse effect from the rain. Actually has flowed through the property totally fine. And I think that's it. If there's any other questions, those were the two changes: the gravel on the top, the pipes with the leaders, and the location of that last line in the back.
Okay, thank you. Mike, your comments on this?
Yeah, I went out to do a site visit with Mr. Antonick a few weeks ago. Took a look around, pointed out a few items. I went back to the office, took out the scale ruler we have, and took some measurements. Found that the backyard area up to the coir log is greater than proposed. as you can see here by the proposed site plan that was approved by the commission, there's no stone trench along the northern end of the parcel. The elevations towards the end of the rear yard there, where there is now fill and grass material, was proposed to be at elevation 5. Now that is at about elevation 5.7, 5.6, and then at 5.4 in the corner. Also, there's no what do you call it? Diamond pier footings noted on the site plan. I know that there's a handful of them supporting the staircase.
That it?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'd like to start off the commissioner discussion. I think the stone swale along the retaining wall, I looked at that today. I think that's pretty minimal. I think I can understand the reasoning behind that. Also, the downspouts, I don't have any issue with that. As far as the location of Kyle Log and the location of the buffer zone, I felt we were all aware of where that was going to be located in the course of the meeting when we discussed this all. I thought the original proposal was to have it even further out, but to have it higher so that the lot was going to be more level around the house. The ongoing discussions, we resolved that to have it all graded back evenly, to slope towards the marsh. And in my mind, I thought the Cairo log was that was a compromise about where we were going to have a buffer zone between the marsh and the end of the lawn. I'd like to hear what the other commissioners feel about this.
Going back to when this originally came before us, which was prior than Mr. Antoniuk owning it, we went through this same exercise, and it was always understood that there was going to be a buffer between the marsh and whatever took place with landscaping behind whatever got built there.
I also.
Could I, sorry to interrupt, could I ask, Michael, is there any way you could show page 16 of the packet that I sent to you showing the aerial view of the property?
Yes. Just give me one moment to pull that up.
I would like to say that the coil log does create a buffer. It's just a couple feet further back. But what I want to show you is just the overhead view of it prior and now. And the intention was to always keep the backyard in the exact same proportion. So you'll see it here. Hold on. If the mic picks it up. So the page numbers might be different for you, Mike. Keep going up.
Okay.
It's the photos. Yeah, right there. So if you zoom in on the top photos there, so you'll see that on the left there, the outline of the rear yard when we purchased property, and then how it's shaped on the right. And then if you go down, I didn't get an overhead, but I got close. But it's identical to the way it was prior as far as the property line. So that sill sock was put in prior to demolition, and it still remains in the exact same spot. So we, originally I told Rob to draw the coil log along the silt fence, and since he never marked the silt fence on the plan, I just made the assumption that it was the same spot. And built it that way. But now looking at it, it's like, it was just wrong. It was wrong. It was drawn in the wrong spot. So we kept the yard exactly the same, and you'll notice it drops off significantly right at the end there. And then you have the coil log, and then behind that it's at 5. This side of the coil log is at, I think, between 5, 6. I mean, it's like 4 to 7 inches depending on where you are. But the lot does grade all the way back from the front to the back, but it's so minimal you can barely notice it. And we still are significantly lower than our neighbors.
Yeah, I agree, it is sloped. I think the discussion is that when you began construction there, the prior owner, when he presented his version of this, he said that 25 foot from the rear lot line, that would not be touched. And
Well, that precedes me, and that was never discussed with us.
well, you brought in all that fill that was in that back area. You know, there was piles of sand and gravel back there. I feel you've done a good job of sloping it off and everything, but I believe in the discussion, I thought we were pretty clear that we were gonna create a buffer zone back there as you know, to make up for the fact that so much of that had been disturbed.
I mean, I did create a buffer zone with a lot of plantings, and I did the gravel. I mean, in my opinion, I see nothing wrong with the way this is. It allows for free flowing water. They're lower than everybody around us. We planted a lot of native plants. I mean, I would just hate to eat up half the backyard because something was drawn incorrectly, you know? So anyway, that's why I'm here, is to just ask if we can just modify this and I'll move on. I mean, I think we've done a very good job of creating something that'll be a long-lasting, good solution for everybody around us.
Mike.
Well, we spent a lot of time discussing this, you know, with you in on the conversation. Again, I'd like to hear from the other commissioners how they understood it.
Mike, has the building or the floodplain administrator reviewed this plan?
Yes, he has. He's actually online too, if you'd like to hear from him.
I would be curious, so that buffer is between 4 and 6 inches of fill across that whole area. I mean, the net, to me, it looks like the net cut to fill of the whole project is a fill in a floodplain, which is not allowed. And I think that was somewhat the reasoning to create that buffer, because there is, the top of the coil log or quarter log was about 6, so there was about a foot difference between the natural or existing topography and the top of that log. And I was not here for the original issuance of the order and conditions, but I believe that was a discussion, and it has been in the several hearings following that. But that, I would have a difficult time supporting the issuance of an order of conditions, just because I could be mistaken, but I don't believe you're allowed without compensatory storage to fill in a flood. The net cut to fill has to be either equal or a cut condition.
Mike, you said Andrew's on?
Yes, Andrew is on. Andrew, would you like to take a shot at Sam's question here?
Hey Sam, hi everybody. I haven't done a site visit yet, but I have reviewed the site plan. I agree with what Bert's saying. I thought it was pretty clear where everything was going to go. I think that this is kind of an encroachment issue, for the Concom. I don't think that it affects any floodplain performance. But I do believe it's an encroachment issue for the salt marsh, and I thought it was pretty clear where everything was supposed to go. That being said, as far as like, Sam, as far as compensatory storage, yeah, that's exactly right. When you do a fill in a flood zone, you have to, that's what the Concom's supposed to look at is compensatory storage, or if this will have any kind of adverse effect on it. In this instance, also, you're looking at, the fact that you removed an obstruction that would have displaced floodwaters, into other directions. So by literally removing that, you're gaining that compensatory storage just right, even by having that obstruction removed. So it's kind of,
Andrew, it's big picture on all things considered on that aspect, I guess.
Pardon me?
The net cut to fill would be kind of from previous conditions when it was no, I don't believe it was a flood compliant structure, is what you're saying?
But yeah, by
Well,
removing
it
that
definitely-
structure, that square footage is
Correct.
essentially removed from, not counted as fill.
Correct, yeah, that's what I'm saying. So you
Yeah.
look at it from a big picture,
Yeah.
previous conditions to current conditions. Okay. That's, I understood. That clarifies it.
Yeah, look, and it's obviously not a perfect situation. When we're dealing with these structures, when we knock them down and build a brand new one and redevelop the lot essentially. But I think we're trying to do the best we can. But again, in this case, I do agree with Bert. I thought it was pretty clear as to where the core log was going to be, how we were going to resolve this. And I think that it's more so, again, an encroachment issue onto the salt marsh than it is having any sort of detrimental effect as far as floodplain management.
Thank you.
Would it be appropriate to have a site visit by everybody so that everybody can see it in person?
I've seen it. Bert's seen it. Has anyone else been there recently?
Not recently.
Not since it's been finished, no, the landscape, no.
Let's take this one step at a time. As far as the answer that Andrew just gave about the grading and the fact that the foundation from the original structure, that made up for that. Are we satisfied with these elevations we have, that we're gonna get satisfactory drainage across there?
I think so.
Okay.
And I would agree with you on the stone as
Stone
part of
swale.
that, like, because
Yeah.
so the drainage portion of it, I think, with
Okay.
Andrew's response, I think I'm
Yeah.
okay with.
And Corey, you're familiar with this too. What do you think about that?
Yeah, there wouldn't be any compensatory storage because of the removal of the building. That was essentially, creating a fill in the floodplain. So removing that evens it out. I guess, yeah, so what Andrew said about, it's just the encroachment into the buffer zone and the salt marsh that we had clearly agreed not to do. So, and then I guess I'm not clear from the as-built what the elevation is behind the core log. Is there a drop-off there?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
I could comment on that. So originally the core log was supposed to be at 6. It's basically even with the grade back there, so it's around a 5.5 to 5.8 depending on where it is. So it is lower than original.
Actually, there is a faint elevation line. There's a 5 there.
It runs kind of on the rear property line.
Yeah, and that was what was,
okay. I see.
yeah, there it is, yeah, that was what was expected. So it is retaining, the gravel on the, there's gravel around the plants. So, it is, I don't know if there's gravel on the back line, there's gravel on the bottom line, but there is plantings and a planter, not grass. And that, you know, it is holding that back, and it's creating a buffer.
Well, about a 2-foot buffer, and, you know, typically you want, you know, as much as possible.
I mean, but the core log's not gonna be there forever. It's gonna
It's gonna
It's gonna
deteriorate.
disintegrate.
deteriorate over time, and then you'll be left with a little drop off, and that's gonna just eat
So
away at the toe of that little.
I wanted to see if everybody was satisfied with the grading and the elevations. I think here we are. The only thing, when Craig and I were out there today, and under the building, I'm not sure about that, the crushed stone, just by sight, it seemed to be higher than the roadway. But
I mean, it's in line with the tank, and so as shown on the as-built, that's what it would be. The tank is the highest point.
I can speak to that, Bert, if
Okay.
you'd like.
yeah, thank you, Andrew. Go ahead.
Do you see on the site plan here, right within the outline of the house, it's got the another rectangle that shows the existing tight tank?
Right.
Yeah, so on that, it shows the existing tight tank, the rim is at 7.4, okay? And then it shows, you can see so that's why it's a little bit higher. On the front, on the bottom right corner of the house there, towards Ferry Street, on the outside of the thing, it shows the elevation outside of the box at the bottom, 7.2. So that's the elevation at that point at the corner of the house. So what you're seeing is that 0.2 of a foot, so roughly, you know, almost an inch and 3/4 higher than what is on the corner. That's that elevation, is the elevation over the tight tank. If you look in the middle of the roadway on Ferry Street, you'll see the X with the 7.2, and then it goes down to 7.1, 7.1. And then it increases back up to 7.2 as it goes further down Ferry Street. So again, that's the low point, is that 7.1. It's gonna run towards the house, but it's gonna hit that 7.2 and go around it on those flow paths and through, you know, everything. It's gonna travel over everything, you know, once it gets 3 inches high, you know, basically, so.
Well, and the crushed stone is gonna be pervious too, so you should get flow through that, right?
Correct, but that little or a rectangle within, you know, within the footprint is the raised elevated area of the tight tank, and like you can see on the outside edges of the site plan of that footprint on the back top left corner, I think it's 6.8. There's an X there. At the back of the deck, it shows the 6.7. And so those are the immediate elevations right around the outside of the house. The dotted gray lines then after that is the 6. The top of the coir log is showing at 5.6 and 5.5, 5.7, 5.4. And then on the other side of it is an elevation line that's 5 feet.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I think if we're okay with the elevations and the grading, I think what we need to deliberate is where that buffer zone line should be and where there should be some more native plantings.
I think the buffer should be where it was originally drawn. There will still be a significant amount of lawn behind the house. I don't think that's a hardship to come back to that original line and put native plantings from there to the edge of the marsh. That would be what I would want to see.
Commissioner O'Donnell,
Yes, Mike.
if I may. The conservation posts should also be moved to where the extent of the buffer zone is. Right now, they're on the lot line, which is also approximately the salt marsh line. So they should also be moved back to reflect the new buffer zone area.
And they're also on 2x4s, not 4x4s. They need a sturdier base.
The other thing is the Conservation Commission will supply you with the round markers. You didn't have to make your own signs.
I was unaware of that, but either are the round markers smaller or about the same size, or?
They're significantly smaller.
Okay, then I'll definitely take you up on that.
They're-
Yeah, I mean, I'm conceptually fine with this. What I'll do is, I mean, I just want to get this wrapped up, right? So what we could do is, do we think the coil log is even really going to do much? I mean,
Well, let us, I was gonna make a suggestion that coil logs stay right where it is, and we
Okay.
just delineate the, where we want the buffer zone with the native plantings and remove the sod at that point. I think,
Yes.
I think
Yeah,
you
I'm
can just
fine with that.
cut it with a spade and take it right out.
well, so how about what I propose as a solution is I have Rob go back out and mark correctly on the lot where that theoretical log should be. And then we'll take the sod out and add a handful of plantings behind it to kind of fill in the space. I think that's a pretty easy solution.
Mike, could you put up the backyard again, the overhead?
Yes.
It's too late to plant
Well, it would have to be done in the spring.
in the spring.
Yeah. Mhm.
So,
Mike, you have a comment?
May I suggest continuing this hearing to the next meeting date so that a new site plan with conservation markers noted and the new buffer zone noted on it can be provided?
Yes.
Could I request, we put a lot of plants in. Is there a specific number of additional plants that you guys would think is acceptable?
We can any guidelines.
Well, how many do we?
I mean, I think I did 8 across the back, so I could just double it. Can't remember exactly how many I did.
I think everything you put in is grass, correct? Grasses?
Native grasses as indicated by the plan, yeah. 1,
Okay.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
16.
Yeah.
Looks like I did 11 across the back.
Let's double back. Yeah. Is there a way to blow that picture up at all, Mike? Can you zoom it at all, or?
Which one,
Just
John?
to see, I'd like to see where the plantings are, where we're talking about the,
So there are
What-
plantings along
okay, I see them now,
here.
okay.
Yes.
On the other side of,
Yeah, they're about waist high beach grass.
okay.
And then on the southern edge here along the gravel swale
I got you.
as well.
All right.
I think if the 11 was doubled, so if it was 22 on the rear, it would actually exceed the original approved plan. So I'd be okay with that.
Right, and on the original plan, that bottom left area was thicker, here.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think I would agree with 22.
Whatever happened to the tree?
It was replaced.
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And it's, what is it?
It's a river
cherry?
birch,
Okay.
So do you think we've given enough guidance on this to continue? And then you know, he'll want to put on the revised site plan, put the conservation markers along where the buffer zone is gonna be.
Where do I get those markers? Just in Michael's office?
Yep.
Yep,
So conservation markers, 11 more plants,
22.
There it is.
no, 11 more to make it 22, right?
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. that's
The
what I thought.
doubling the
Yeah,
existing.
Doubling it.
okay, okay, I'm sorry.
All right, so conservation markers, 11 more plants, we'll cut the sod out, and we will cut it out in the line of where that proposed coil log was in the past. I honestly don't think the coil log it's such a small amount of grade change, I don't think it's necessary, in my opinion.
I don't think we're asking for another one.
Yeah, no, we're not,
No,
no, we're not asking for another coir
and
log.
just leave the other
Yeah.
one in place.
Yeah,
Yeah, it'll help kind of create a secondary buffer on the backside there.
we're just using, you know, we're just saying along the coir log because that's
That's
the
the original.
demarcation that was
What do you
originally.
want-
yeah.
What do you want in between the plants? Just like wood chip?
You might want to go with more gravel. If you get sheet flow back there, wood chip's gonna
Float away.
float away.
Okay, gravel. All right, conservation markers, 11 plants, cut the sawed out gravel, and have Rob mark it where we cut it out.
Yeah,
I'm
and,
totally fine with that. So I'll have Rob revise the plan, and in the spring, I'll get this done, and then we'll, so I'll revise the plan, and then we'll come back to a meeting relatively soon to try to get that approved, and then I'll be off and running, right?
okay, do you want to continue to the next meeting or make it after the first of the year?
Let's make it after the first of the year at this point.
Okay, what's our first meeting, January, Mike?
Yep, that would be the second week in January, January 8th. I mean, yeah, January 8th.
So,
And the deadline is when?
For that one, the deadline is the week after the 22nd. Yeah, Christmas week.
I'll probably have it in next week.
Okay.
So, okay, I'm good if you guys are good.
I'd
Thank
like
you.
to make a motion to continue the hearing until January 8th. If I get a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay,
Awesome.
thank you.
Thanks, guys. Have a great night.
Thank you. Okay. Brunswick Beach Investments. Nope, Fort Bridge. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, December 4th, 2024, to consider the notice of intent filed by Brunswick Beach Investments, and the hearing officer is Commissioner Malafronte.
Mike, have all administrative requirements been met?
Yes, all administrative requirements have been met.
And so we have someone here presenting. Want to introduce yourself and
Yes,
the
sir.
project?
Brian Taylor from Stenbeck and Taylor, we're the design engineers on the project. This is a replacement septic system for an existing three-bedroom house. The property is on Webster Street, the westerly side of Webster Street, pretty much across from McDougal's, the little yellow cape. It was in the Roth family forever. And as shown in the plan, Brookman Road had delineated a wetland on the property. There's a BBW at the rear of the property. And then there's what would be an ILSF, isolated land subject to flooding under DEP regs, but with Marshfield, we still have that 400 square foot, so it's a local ILSF, even though it doesn't have a hydraulic connection. It basically is a tree line between the two properties, and honestly, if they had mowed the lawn, they wouldn't even have it there, so. And there's a existing leaching catch basin at the down gradient corner, the southwest corner of the wetland. So we evaluated when we showed up on the site, the best placement of the septic system, and really, on the side of the house, the only alternative, the street grade is about 11, the top of foundation is 13, but the land in between, it drops down as low as 9. So what happens is the abutter's property to the north is higher than ours, and it basically grades to drain, swales across our driveway, which pitches down to about elevation 10 and then comes back up to the garage slab elevation of 11.6. So we have that one corner that we could stuff the system in. There's a number of old cesspools in the back of the house that were shown are to be eliminated and pumped and filled and abandoned in accordance with Title V. And that's what always serviced the property. So what we're doing is we're going to provide a new 1,500-gallon septic tank at the rear, a pump chamber. Because of the groundwater elevations, modeling elevations, the system does have to be elevated. So we're lucky because the garage top of foundation is 13. So we were actually able to have a finished grade over the top of the system of about 12.5. So it'll be mounded. We were able to do it without a membrane, so we didn't have to use a retaining wall, which would be an expense the owner really can't afford. And what we did is we're maintaining that drainage pattern across the front yard of our property from north to south, and we're actually picking it up. We're adding a stone swale with a 4-inch pipe in it that'll run around, up straight into the wetland, it'll run around to the backyard. And in the backyard, which is, as you can see, is pretty flat, it's elevation 8, we're going to create a little infiltration swale. So we're cutting any runoff from continuing to go south on our neighbor. So it's a lot of activity in a small work area, but as I say, there's no increase in flow, and it's just for a septic repair for the existing bedroom, remaining a 3-bedroom design.
Thank you. Do any commissioners have any comments? Questions?
Title V, I think it's the best they can do.
Yeah, has this went in front of the Board of Health?
Actually, we submitted to Gary. We think it's all local upgrades, so it may not even require a Board of Health meeting. He just got back to us today, actually, with some comments, a few comments. We're gonna do a little alteration of the grade. He suggested I did a 3-to-1 grade from the top of the system, down toward the wetland. He suggested do a 2.5-to-1 because we have that membrane acting as a direct flow down, septic flow down. So I'm gonna tighten that grade up a little bit. And I'm going to do a small change to the depth of the stone-filled trench because he was worried that we might intercept groundwater. We don't want to do that. We want to handle sufficient water runoff. So just a couple of tweaks that he'll approve.
That was my question about that, the infiltration swale, and it does look like groundwater, it seems like he already commented on, but it's right around like 7.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and it's done by models, the actual
Yeah.
was encountered deeper,
5 or
but that's
4,
always
yeah.
the case, The weeping was actually at 63 inches and the models are at 30 inches, so we designed for the worst-case scenario.
Right.
And we are surrounding the work area perimeter with silt sock, too.
And then the only other question I had was, I didn't see, now it's not really our jurisdiction, but I didn't see buoyancy calculations on the pump chamber and stuff.
Yeah, we did an extended base on both, on both the 1,500-gallon H10
Yeah,
extended
I'm sure
base.
they'd be fine on the.
Yeah, with those extended bases, right.
Okay. I have no issues with this. I think it's an upgrade to the existing. So. Mike, this is a notice of intent, right?
Yep.
Is there anyone in the public or on Zoom that would like to make a comment on this or has questions? Hearing none. If there's no commissioner comments, any comments or suggestions for
Yes,
conditions?
I have the following suggestions. General conditions 1 through 18 are standard special conditions. Prior to construction, condition 5 and 2, to have a pre-construction meeting and have the site staked out. During construction, condition 11, ensure best management practices are followed. After construction, condition 1, apply for a certificate of compliance. And erosion control, condition 1, ensure that erosion control is in place throughout the duration of work. And the commission may also want to consider conservation markers on this property. There's a lot of wetlands around it, and just having a few conservation markers along the end of this stone, kind of the stone area here to the south of the home and also to the west of the home could be a good idea.
That's something, the conservation markers we could add to.
Yeah, so I'd probably, if it's okay with you guys, I'd like to keep them on our property, because the wetlands goes just off our property on the south side, that little ILSF.
Yep.
Like I say, if they mowed the lawn, it's gonna disappear.
Yeah.
But I could put one, like, on the property line near A4, wetland flag A4, and I could put one at wetland flag A1, at the property line. So that would tell everybody that one.
Yeah.
And then maybe put one at wetland flag 2. I don't know how many, it's this line jigs and jogs, I don't know how many you want to do in the back, Mike.
Do
Maybe one at
wetland flag 11,
11. Yeah.
5, and 2.
Yep, that's a good idea. Great, we'll provide those.
All right, if there's no other comments, questions, Mike's conditions in the 6 conservation or 5 conservation, I believe it was. I'd like to make a motion to issue the order of conditions with the conditions stated. Can I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Get home before the blizzard.
Yeah.
First stop, wait, you need concussion.
Okay, I'm gonna open 248 Ridge Road, but this will be continued. In compliance with the regulations of Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, the Wetlands Protection Act, and Code of the Town of Marshfield, Chapter 294, Wetlands Protection, a public hearing will be held by the Marshfield Conservation Commission on Wednesday, December 4th, 2024, to consider the notice of intent filed by Susan Robinson of 248 Ridge Road. And the hearing officer is Commissioner Miles. So Corey, if you would just
Sure, it's,
move to continue?
I move to continue this hearing to, oh, what are we looking at for a date? January,
It was December 22nd.
December 22nd? Okay. Can I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Mike, December, I think it might be the 18th.
It's the 18th.
Yeah.
It's the 18th? Oh,
Yeah.
oh, my mistake, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it is the
It's
18th.
January 22nd
Ah, there's, that's
is our
where the
second
confusion-
meeting, yeah. Okay. We have, we vote on that? All in favor, aye?
Oh, should, we
Okay.
want me to
With
change it?
the modified date.
With the
Modified date.
Modified date to December 18th.
Okay. So now we have our meeting onto business. Our meeting dates for January to June 2025. We just need to vote these in. I move that we accept the calendar for the Conservation Office meeting dates for January 2025 through June 2025. May I have a second?
One question, please.
Yep,
That issue that we ran into back in August with dates,
yep.
has that been checked, that we don't have this issue?
We checked this. There is in fact going to be a gap between December 18th and January 8th. So we are aware of that. It didn't seem to make sense to try to get the January meeting in. I know, Liz worked this out
Yes, we
and
all-
we discussed it. So we do have that wide period there. Hopefully, anyone who comes in, and it looks like going forward right now, it's fairly quiet, we can have them agree to continue beyond a 21-day window if that arises.
Very good.
May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Requests for certificate of compliance. SC 423935 and SC 422935A, 747 Ocean Street. This has all been done as proposed?
Yes.
Okay, I move to issue orders, a COC for 747 Ocean Street. May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And now we have SE 422972, 113 Bayberry Road. Do you want to,
Yes, I
Fill
spoke
us
with
in
the,
here.
the homeowner's representative yesterday from Stenbeck and Taylor. They'll be working on capturing the limits of that revetment for the next meeting. There was a small amount of stone added just from construction debris from creation of stone walls and things like that on the property associated with the garage project. However, historically, there has been some stone here in a retaining wall type structure. So to have that captured and put on the as-built site plan would be in everybody's best interest there.
okay, so we will continue this to December 22nd?
Yes.
May I have a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye. Second.
That,
18th, right?
Yeah. Sorry, I put it in there.
oh, God.
One of
We will
those nights.
continue to December 18th. It's catching.
Yep.
Okay, that concludes our business. I move to close the Conservation Commission meeting of December 4th, 2024. May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.